Well, here it is. Once again, it's time to go inside EMS. I am your host, Chris Cebollero. Kelly Grayson is on special assignment, doing whatever it is that Kelly Grayson does when he is on special assignment. But let me tell you what, have I got a show for you. With excitement, I am able to share and welcome back my good friend and former co-host from the EMS Leadership podcast, Patrick Pianezza. He is a paramedic, he is a storyteller, and he is one of the writers behind the new film Code 3. Patrick, we used to talk about leadership every week. Did you ever imagine you'd go from the podcast mic to writing a feature film?
No, never. And one bone to pick. I think I was the star of EMS leadership. I think we
Okay.
just need to set that
You
set
want
that up
to,
there.
but that was a 5-year run, right? So it was you and I. It was our international correspondent Rob Lawrence, who is now the host of the EMS One Stop on EMS One, and Don Lundy. And we got together every Wednesday for about 5 years, and we talked about leadership. We talked about development, and we shared a lot of stories, man. I think between us all, we had some really great experiences that gave us some really great shows.
Yeah, I think we did the math one show, and it was something like over 100 years of experience between the three or four of us.
Yeah, now it's look at where the heck we are. But let's talk about you, man. I think that this is where we have to, certainly everybody's excited in EMS about the Code 3 movie. I know right now you are doing some screenings, but the movie comes out September 12th, and very, very excited. But I guess the first thing I have to hit you with is what was the spark that got you started on Code 3, and how did your EMS background influence the story?
And it was really the trauma from the EMS leadership podcast that got all this whole ball rolling. It was the honest answer is this whole thing was a homework assignment. When I was an undergrad, I had to take a creative writing class, and I had just came off this brutal shift, and the professor said something that was incredibly cliche, but I had never heard before, and that was, and he said, if you want to write a compelling story, write what you know. And I just remember having this moment in my brain where I was like, oh, you want a story? I'll tell you a story. And came home and wrote this massive short story. And then flash forward to, 4 or 5 years later, I'm visiting my brother, and the rest of it is all my brother's fault. He's the one who said, why don't you turn that into a script? And so I did. And then he really got Chris Leone, who's the director and the co-writer. He finally wore Chris down and got him to read the first version of the script. And then Chris liked it enough and thought it was kind of an interesting world, that he came on board, and then we wrote on it for another 10 years. Not full time, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's a long time to develop a project, but let me ask you this. I mean, so when you think about this from a Hollywood standpoint, you've seen the movies, right? You talk about Mother Jugs and Speed, which is a classic movie, and then you see a lot of the movies or the TV shows, Patrick, that come out, really don't paint the picture of what EMS is all about. What did you most want to capture about EMS that Hollywood usually misses in these types of projects?
Well, most of the time, EMS is always looked on as either a plot device or a comedy of the things that we've seen. Like, there are good movies that are out there about EMS. I think Bringing Out the Dead is a good example of that. But we worked really hard to make sure that this was not in that vein of Mother Jugs and Speed or um, uh, Super Troopers. Like, don't, no shade to either one of those. I love both of them, but we did not want to do that. We wanted to make a true to life story that still harnessed the comedy that is often bantered about in the station. And so for us, it was telling an honest story that allowed people that do the work to feel recognized and seen, and not as an afterthought or a punchline. And so that was really the impetus of that. And I think um, through the years, Chris and I had become really good friends, and he was very interested in telling that authentic story. And so we committed early on two very basic principles. Number one, the patient is never the punchline. And number two, we would be medically accurate. So, like, if you see our movie, the non-rebreather bags are actually inflated. The monitor is clinically accurate to whatever the patient presents with, and we show we show the struggle, we show the highlights of the job, and then we call out what we feel are some of the major um, issues in the system, but we're not so over the top or parochial to tell you what the answers are.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. When you think about this from a research and authenticity standpoint, I mean, you lived it. I mean, you were there, right? I'm sure a lot of these stories are coming right from the experiences that we all have, certainly that you had as a EMS provider. But I'm sure that as you wrote the script and as this now starts to get into production, when you start to think about it, what did you have to fight for to keep this script as authentic as it could be? Because you used the word authentic that Chris kind of mentioned that really felt true to the culture.
It was really part of that. We had more arguments around the darkness of the job, and so like in our movie, people die, and we talk about it and we show it, and um, sometimes there was a little uneasiness as we were trying to sell the project, and our whole thing was like, no, this is what happens. You go from, a cardiac arrest to like a drunk, and that's the job. And so we didn't get everything we wanted. I can tell you, there's some stuff on the cutting room floor that absolutely breaks my heart. But um, what we fought for was I kept reiterating like this is the job. It is episodic, and of course in Hollywood or in any movie, they want a nice clean narrative that weaves throughout the story. And I think we've done a really good job. And I credit Chris with a lot of that structure. But we were adamant that it's not a love story. There is no like we're not mounting guns to the ambulance. Like there's none of that. I think we threaded a needle. Obviously, I'm very biased. I wrote it, but um,
Yeah.
we got away from a lot of those tropes. Like it's not like hooray, there's a hero's journey, but uh, but yeah, the authenticity part of it was this episodic nature. In fact, the first version of well, more than a few versions of the first script was you could have taken it, threw it on the floor, and picked them back up and put them in any order you wanted. And that was in my head, the naive non screenwriter at the beginning was, yeah, this is the way it looks. And that was really intriguing to Chris, who is steeped in Hollywood. He's got a degree in screenwriting and directing. Um, and so he really helped bring some of that. He loved the idea, but he was like, we have to tell a story. We can't just be like, ding, 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 done.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up. I mean, you've been a paramedic, you've been a podcast host, you've been in the C-suite of the hospitals. So now when you start to think about this from a transition into writing, I mean, you were a writer too. I mean, yeah, your articles were out there in EMS One, EMS World forever. We don't see them anymore because you've now grown up into this big Hollywood big shot now that but
One
not
movie
only
does not make me a big shot.
but my question really, Patrick, is what was your biggest aha moment now as you start to transition into this world? I know that the writer strike was happening when, this was going on as I was following you on social media. But now you start to get into this writing of the script and, now you start dealing with, hey, we're going to make a picture. What was the biggest thing that hit you that you were like, oh my God, this is real? Or, oh my God, I had no idea.
So I had a really unique experience because most writers do not get to be on set. Most of the time, the writers literally write and then they get paid, and then it's like, cool, goodbye. And then the production company does, they make the thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, because it was such a technical movie, um, Chris had me on set every single day, especially when we were doing medical stuff. But to your question, the biggest aha was I showed up on set for the first time ever and having never been on a movie set before. And the thing that I wrote on this piece of paper is now in front of me, like it's in three-dimensional space.
Yeah.
Um, and it blows my mind. And what I told some of my friends early on was, imagine you write an email and then you wake up and over 100 people make whatever it is that you sent into a real thing, and it,
Yeah.
it was mind-blowing. It took me at least a week to get used to it because everything that's on the page, you're like, oh, he's in an office or he's at the EMS substation, and it's just like they just built an EMS substation and an office, and oh yeah, that's what I thought the person would look like, and that's
Yeah.
it's
Very
it's
cool.
crazy.
So, you talked about being a technical director, being that technical subject matter expert. Did you have to say, nope, this is the way it really happens, and this is
Oh
the way?
yeah.
Yeah,
So we had some great time in pre-production. We got to train Amy, Rain, and Rel on how to be a paramedic. We threw him in the back of a truck. We bounced him around LA. We had we taught them how to intubate, and we all got them healthcare provider CPR certified. They all have cards, or at least they did for the movie. Because one of my bailiwicks was like, CPR is so terribly shown on screen that we were committed to like at least one movie's going to get it right. So there was stuff that we had to say no to, and I'll be honest, I don't remember all of the specifics. But during lunch one of the days, the the director, the director of photography, and a couple of producers were like, "Hey, we got this really great idea," and I honestly don't remember what it was, but I was just like, I just listened to it, and I was like, "That's great." No, and they go, "Well, why not?" I go, because these guys would know that that's not reality. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, but it does this, that, and the other thing. And I just kept staring and standing in the corner. No, 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 no. And then by the fifth no, they were just like, okay, fine. I guess we'll figure something else out.
So what you're saying is no. You talked about dark humor, and I think it's really something that EMS providers really understand. And now, as you start to bring that to the public, dark humor is what keeps us sane. So how did you weave that into the story without it feeling, one, forced, but number two, in a way that people who are outside of the career field won't think is
Adulting
deplorable. You know what I
is.
mean?
Yeah. It was a dance. And that was actually one of the big conversations that Chris and I had when we were talking about that exact subject, because our characters do go to that place, and we make the joke. I can't remember if it's in the trailer. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a diner scene where we kind of go into this dark humor part, um, and it was Arkham's razor, man. Like we had to walk it very carefully. We wrote on just that scene multiple times because, number one, it wasn't just enough for us to make sure that the audience would get it and not think that, oh my God, they're horrible humans. But we also had to get it past the producers in the studio, because they're the ones that have to okay it. Um, and it was one of those things. We had lots of conversations with the actors and with Chris to make that work as best we could. And I'm really proud of it. I think we did a good job. Um, if anything, I think there was room to go a little bit darker without destroying everything. But like everything else, it's a compromise.
Yeah, very cool. Did you at least get a cameo in your own movie?
I did. I'm a little Easter egg in the movie. You'll be. I have
All
my
right.
SAG card now, so.
Well, good. I'm going to check it out, man. So I'm excited for that. Um, when you think about this, I'm going to sit and watch it along with my EMS peers. And which character or scene do you think medics watching will point to and say, "Oh my God, that's us. Oh my God, it is us."
I mean, I hope from the get, we launch you out of a cannon for sure in the very first scene. But I think that there are. I personally believe that anybody who's got any real experience, I think the poignant moments are going to hit harder for those of us that have done the job, rather than the over the top. Like we had to we the very first scene is kind of like, we have to get people who have no idea what goes on in EMS and hook you and get you in the chair. So I'm hoping that most of the medics will give us a little bit of leeway on this one. Not that the scene's not accurate, but it is a little, it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But as we settle into the day, I think a lot of the medics, especially during some of the more poignant scenes where we're dealing with, there's a nursing home scene that I think every medic on the planet can relate to. And then we deal into some behavioral health issues. And I think that, coupled with the society, the pressures that we deal with and seeing health disparities, I think is going to resonate really, really well. And then from a clinical standpoint, I think it's going to, and I'm hoping that the people react positively to that.
Yeah. So, now you start to deal with actors, and I can't imagine what that's like. But, it's one of the things that we see a lot of our favorite actors who are doing characters. And now, as you start to think about some of the behind the scenes thing, how did the cast respond to learning about EMS from someone who actually worked the streets and they're trying to live out those things that we have done on scene? I mean, was it an eye opener for them? Were they like, oh, this can't really happen? Or, I mean, so how did they handle that?
It was an incredible partnership. I think by about day three of shooting, they all got it, and they were all very committed. Which, I have this is my only production, but I can't tell you, it was very fulfilling to see that they realized that they were not playing cartoons, and so In fact, the one that even when we were training, they were like, "Oh, this is interesting," but you could tell some of them it was connecting with, some of them wasn't. It was just kind of like to them what was the biggest aha moment for me that came from them was like to them all the medical stuff was essentially a dance. We literally had to line it out as choreography. Like your right hand would go here, your left hand would go
Oh,
here, as
really?
opposed to like in EMS, it's like, yeah, you're going to check lung sounds and you know where the lungs are. Well, these people, I mean, I'm not insulting them, but medicine is not what they do.
Right, right,
So for
right.
us, it's
They had
like,
to learn all
put your
that.
hand
Yeah.
here. Um, but they all, and the crew too, the people behind the scenes that you've never ever heard of. About day three, I think, is when it really started to feel like everybody got it and they understood it. And I didn't expect everyone on set to have read the script, but from the actor standpoint, they were all committed once they kind of got it. Because I think for everybody, there's always still that idea of like, well, they keep telling us it's a comedy, and it is funny. Again, I think it's hilarious, certain parts of it, but there is a heart to it that I think is universal and speaks to not just people who do the job, but for outsiders to get a view
Yeah.
into this world and be like, oh, so that's what this job is.
Yeah. And I think that that's going to be really important to see. And again, it's not just what we're going to think about it because it's our life, right? And I'm sure you've captured that great, but how does that resonate with the people that we're running those calls on? What about this? You hear, I actually read the book of Caddyshack a couple months ago, and, there was some lines in there about Rodney Dangerfield that he was doing his scenes on screen and he thought that he was blowing it because there was nobody that were laughing. Certainly you can't laugh while the cameras are rolling, but how much of that was on in this movie that as soon as the camera cut, there was just explosive laughter or, what was that like for you? It must have been a pretty great feeling.
It was, and it's. I mean, you cannot have some of these insane comedic actors and not blow takes from laughing. Like there was just there's an incredible scene where it's just Rain, Rel, and Amy in the front in the cab of the truck. Um, and we had written obviously we'd written a scene and then they're incredibly talented and comedians and so they will improv. And so we did probably 8 or 10 takes of them going through this one scene uh, about Rain's inability to function out in public. And I can't tell, like, I think I broke a rib trying to hold a laugh in the way these guys are doing it. And then you add people like Rob Riggle and some of the stuff that they would do when they riff off the cuff is amazing. Right from the back, I'm not ruining anything. It's in the trailer. When you first meet Amy as the student ride along, there's multiple takes. Like he's basically being like, "Don't ever question me on scene. I don't want to hear from you. I will tell you what to do. Ask me after we're done," kind of thing. And the line that makes it in the movie is she calls him a dictator. But she went through like 8 or 10 takes, and my favorite one that didn't get made or didn't make it was she called him Midwest Mussolini, and the way she delivered that, I was just on the floor dying laughing. Um,
Funny.
uh, and then we had an entire scene that got cut, but Seth Green was in it, so it was Seth Green, Seth Green, Lil Rel Howery, Rain, Amy, a bunch of background comedians, and that whole scene was it was the front row seat to like the best comedy theater ever. And unfortunately, it didn't fit in the movie. Like we couldn't, as great as it was, and it wasn't due to performance. It was just we couldn't figure out how to make it work. But Jesus, I mean, all of them between takes would just like tell jokes, and it was just hilarious.
I'm
These,
sure it was a great experience.
yeah.
So I think two things, right? So they kind of go together. What do you hope that EMS professionals take from this, right? Because really, this is a legacy for you as well, right? What do you hope that EMS professionals take from it, one? And then share with me, what do you think the regular audience members should take from this, or you're hoping that they're going to take from the movie as well?
So my big thing, especially now that it's out, is that I want providers to feel seen, recognized, and appreciated for the work that they do. Um, we talked about it a lot on EMS leadership. I've written about it quite a bit, and that is like this job is really a thankless job. We see horrendous things. We're there for life's most beautiful moments sometimes, um, but a lot of the times, if you're not inside this world, they see the truck and they're like, all right, go first responders, go. Um, but what I really care about, what I want people to take away from, especially if you're still actively doing the job, is that they feel recognized, they feel seen, they feel like we did them justice. And I would never be I would never claim to speak for the entire profession, but for me, I wanted it to be an accurate and authentic portrayal of what it is that we do, and as a nod to them and saying, for me, literally just saying, hey, thanks for what the men and women do out there, because it matters. It's important work. I know the pay sucks. I know the job is hard, but I want people to feel valued and thanked for that. And for the general public to really get an eye in on like the people that we are trusting to, rush in at 2 o'clock in the morning, aren't getting paid a lot, and there's a lot of training involved, and
Right.
they're not even EMS is still not an essential service. Like there are fundamental issues with the way EMS is structured, and frankly, all of U.S. healthcare, and to shine a light on that and say, hey, I am not saying I've got all the answers. What I'm saying is like we've got an issue. How do we address that? And to raise that respect level up for them, because so many people just assume that EMS and fire are the same, and obviously anybody listening to this is going to know that that's not the case. Um, and it's also meant to be a recruitment tool, because I think this movie is an unvarnished, honest look at the job. So for anybody that this resonates with that doesn't have a patch, can say like, okay, at least you're going in with full knowledge of what the job might be like.
Yeah. I think for my feel, this is going to be like a #1 hit movie. Netflix is going to call you. They're going to want to turn it into a series. So you'll be very successful with it then thereafter. So I'm going to start working on that for you as your quasi manager. I'll take 5%, and
Sold, done.
yeah.
You heard it here first. Accept it.
So I'm really excited for you. I know, and we've talked about it from the very beginning. You reached out to me when you were starting the process, and you were very excited about it, and it took a long time really to kind of get to this point. But I'm excited for you. I'm proud to know you, proud to have you on the show, and I think that this is something that really kind of goes with what you've been trying to do your whole career, right? So if you think about it, your job was to save people, your job was to help people. Then as your career progressed, it was the same. You wanted to make sure that they had the best experience when they were coming into the hospital, coming into the facility, as a writer, as a podcast host. All you've wanted to do is educate. All you've wanted to do is add value. All you've wanted to do is really kind of make a difference. And I think that this just continues that legacy for you, man. So I'm really proud to know you, really proud for this opportunity for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's explicitly aligned in the film, but I think it dovetails well with my career. And it's like I got into this whole field because I just want to help people, and that's every iteration of that has helped progress that storyline. And so I think, certainly it's not just about me. There's a whole team behind all of that, and the people that are still out there that are running a call right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to just do my part and help shine a light on that.
Well, I think it's going to work. I'm excited to see it. I can't wait. So this is it, man. Any final thoughts or words for the EMS family out there? I mean, you're the co-writer of this thing, co-author. So what are you leaving with?
Two things. First of all, the same thing I hope you get from the movie is, thank you so much for the job that you're doing. It's important work. It matters. I know you're never going to hear it enough. So if you hear it from nobody else, even today, you hear it from me when I say thanks for the work that you do, because you guys are saving lives. And I don't say that easily, having done that job for a dozen years. Um, the second thing is, if you want more information about the movie, code3movie.com. We are not doing a nationwide release, so it is a limited release, but it is going to be in theaters. That website will be the best place for you to go see if it's anywhere near you. Uh, in order to get tickets, take a shift, take yourself. We're really, really proud of it. I have no idea how long it will be in theaters. I don't know what the steps are after it goes to theaters. Like, does it go to Netflix or whatever? Unfortunately, that's one of those things that's the business of Hollywood, and I have zero say in it. So, code3movie.com, or if you follow us on any of the social medias, the handle is code3movie.
Very cool. And I just want you to know, I do forgive you for actually doing Rob's show first. And you were on the EMS One Stop. I did see that, but since he was our partner on EMS Leadership, I guess I can forgive you for that. But If you're in EMS or if you ever wondered about what the job really feels like, check out Code 3. Patrick's fingerprints are all over it. They'll pick him up in about 20 minutes. That's how much he's been involved in this. And you'll recognize yourself in these characters. So for my guest, Patrick Pianezza, and of course for Kelly Grayson, I'm Chris Cebollero. We look forward to seeing you all again next week.
Thank you so much.